Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and today we have with us an author of 40 books that help children's souls shine. Bracha Goetz from Baltimore, Maryland, USA. I almost butchered that. Bracha, how are you?
Wonderful. You did a great job. Thank you.
I was falling over my words there, but it's a pleasure to have you here on the podcast to talk about all things that make you happy. Would you mind starting off with what makes you happy as a children's author?
Yes, what I love to share. I I hope there's this amazing thing. This is why I wanted to come on the show. I learned about something called the pleasure ladder, and it's based on ancient mystical wisdom, but it's timeless. So it totally relates to today. There's 5 levels to the pleasure ladder, and it corresponds to the 5 fingers on our hand. So, in other words, we have the power to bring happiness into our lives at any moment. It's in our hands. So the lowest level are all the physical pleasures. This means, like, in other words, being in nature, eating healthy foods, all the natural foods, dancing, movement, music. Think of anything that is a sensual pleasure that is designed to bring us pleasure. That's the purpose of it. Um, and then above that, on the ladder of pleasure, is love. And love, how could it be empowering if it's dependent on other people? It really isn't. We can bring love into our lives at any moment by focusing on what we appreciate about someone else. So, like, even if we're in prison, if we're stuck in prison, if a person thinks about a grandmother that once did a kind thing for them, they are filled with this pleasurable feeling of love. So the lowest level, physical pleasures, natural physical pleasures, then love. What's higher than that? A higher, more lasting pleasure is meaning, doing something meaningful, good and meaningful in this world. And what could be higher than that is doing something creative. When we do something, we put a unique part of ourselves into the world. We're adding our creativity. That's an even higher pleasure. We go into a zone where we don't feel like eating or sleeping even. We're on such a high when we're being creative. And what could be higher than that is is transcendence. Transcendence is when we overcome our own limitations. Like, we make the first crack in a bad habit. We make a bad begin to do something new that we've never tried before. And it's also when we see how we're all connected to everybody, everything, and to source energy. It's that feeling under a starry, starry sky where we know we're a part of a greater universe, and we carry that with us forever. It's like an eternal kind of pleasure. So those are the things that bring not only me happiness, but really just about everybody, because those 5 levels, they correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. So it's universal. It's what fills our souls and helps our souls to shine.
That was very beautifully said, and I've never heard of the pleasure ladder, so that's something I will be looking into myself to, I guess, understand that concept as well. What would you say to our listeners, just a couple pieces of advice for those who are struggling to find what makes them happy? What should they focus on?
Yes, I forgot to say the most important thing, and that's the answer to this question. There's only one price you have to pay to climb the pleasure ladder. What could that be? It's gratitude. It's experiencing mindful gratitude, because that's what changes everything. That then when we eat that orange, when we are filled with mindful gratitude, then it fills up both our body and our soul. It nourishes our body and our soul. When we feel gratitude for another person, what someone's done in our life, that's what brings us joy. It's, in other words, everybody already has in their life right this minute what can bring them happiness. We just have to open our eyes and experience gratitude for what we have. There's actually a saying in the Talmud. It says, "Who is rich? Those who are happy with what they have."
Yes, I agree. Those who are happy with what they have are rich. And I, for one, from personal experience, do feel happy because of what I have. I don't feel rich in a money sense, but I want to share my happiness with other people.
Yes.
Bracha, you've put everything very beautifully today, and you've given myself a lot to think about as well. And I hope the listeners and the audience there have something that they can go and explore on their journey to becoming happier people. So thank you so much for sharing what makes you happy.
Thank you. Thank you for this great opportunity. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. And if you'd love to connect with Bracha, you can do so by clicking the podcast episode description below. Bracha, until next time, thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.